I
A
would
thousand
give them,
bucks or 0.5% off.
I'd give them something that's
Something.
material consideration.
Right.
Okay. Something not 20 bucks and
Right.
not 20,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Somewhere it's a couple $1,000s that's like, hey, you weren't harmed. You didn't miss a payment. I've not cheated you, but
Yeah.
thank you for your cooperation. This is one of the other documents we need to sign, is a release and hold harmless for anything in the past. You know, I'm going to not chase you for anything. You're not going to chase me for anything. We're going to start with a fresh slate, because I'm aware that now I've got to do this a little bit better, and I've got to prove that you're making the payments. And oh, by the way, now I've got to ship this note over to a servicing company,
Mhm.
and they're going to be the ones now collecting your payments, because now they're going to be timely, correctly calculating the payment and the amortization, and they're going to be the one reporting your timely payments to the credit bureau.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's fixable. All those things. Well, for the most part, it's fixable. But it's going to take some
fixable
time.
as
It's
long
going
as
to take some
everybody's still
effort.
friendly.
Right.
If they're friendly, it's fixable.
Right.
Now, if it's not friendly, it's still fixable, but it's going to cost you. I had a
Okay.
client that bought paper in Pennsylvania that wasn't originated correctly. The Attorney General's office got involved. The
Mhm.
Attorney General's office cut him a little bit of a slack because they realized he wasn't the guy that was the bad actor. It was the person before him.
Yeah.
It still cost him, he had to give up like $10,000-15,000 in equity. You know, reduce principal by 10 or 15 grand. Yeah.
Mhm.
So Jeff,
Okay.
so many people listening to are buying subject twos, right? And then wrapping the note. It's a little bit different conversation than the owner finance. What is your thought on that process? Which from my understanding, you're fine with subject twos. But then talk about that part, and then the part B is, I want to buy that wrap note. Can I do it? And what would you suggest me buying it as a legal point of view, what I should or should not be doing?
Wow.
We have 15 minutes.
We have how much time?
15 minutes, right?
Okay,
So-
yeah, because I've got a lunch date with my daughter in like 18 minutes. So I got
Yes.
Okay.
okay. So first of all, I'm a fan of subject to done correctly. Okay. I'm a big fan of it done correctly. I'm not a fan of the way it's being taught by other people out there. And there's some people that are, I'm just going to say this. There's one guy running around that did it in the past and let 108 of them go to foreclosure and screwed up 108 different families' lives because he wasn't a person of his word. Okay. That person should not be teaching subject to ever again, in my opinion, until he makes all 108 people correct, makes them whole. There's other people who are brilliant marketers that have not got the experience in the industry to really understand what they're doing. And I watch them. They parrot what some of the experts who are clients of mine say. My client says it on Monday, they're parroting it, you know, repeating it on Thursday. So let's get into this. There's something I like being done in the subject to space, and there's something I really despise in the subject to space. I'm going to talk about what I despise first. When you get a property under contract and then you sell it or assign it to somebody else, for them to step in your shoes as the sub to buyer, and they pay you some money and then walk away, and you walk away.
Okay.
Ixnay, I don't like it. You have taken a struggling homeowner, put them in contact with somebody else that doesn't have the same depth, experience, and knowledge that you should have. And now you're the only one that's profited out of the deal and you're out. Bad. I've decried this in the past. There's a guru out of Texas that has sued me over it. Didn't have the guts to get me served, but he just filed a lawsuit, you know, impugning my name, but whatever. It didn't matter, you know. So I've been against that method for a long time. What I do like is if you're in this business and you're acquiring subject to and you want to resell, I want you to resell on a wrap all-inclusive basis, because you're fully disclosing what is the underlying debts that you're selling it subject to.
Mhm.
You're fully disclosing the difference between the two. Okay. So yes, part of the financing on this is that Bank of America is still owed $489,000 on this $700,000 house, and I'm getting paid the difference. But when we sell it on a wrap, we're doing it in a way that legally and from a tax standpoint is the most compliant because we stay in the middle of the deal. We stay in the middle of the deal. Now, these are things that you set them up right. These are like crock pots. You can just set them and forget them, and the money shows up every month if you do it right. I'm a big fan of that. Okay, I'm a big fan of money showing up every month, whether I got out of bed or was in the States or not. Okay, I'm a big fan of that. So that's what I like. Now, later on down the road, can you resell that? Can you resell that position? Yes, you can. But whoever's buying it, it better understand and better be smart enough to understand, well, how did you underwrite the deal?
Mhm.
What's been the payment history? And oh, by the way, the underlying debt, yeah, that means I'm going to be stepping into this thing where I now have a moral responsibility to make sure that underlying debt is paid. That gives you some pause and makes you want to think about when you want to step in and buy these things. I wouldn't even think about it until I've seen a couple of years really good pay history on it. Then I'd be like, okay, so we got the bank loan that we bought subject to is just purring along. Everybody's happy. They're taking their payments, auto rip. Great. Love it. And my end buyer who's occupying the property, who I underwrote, who qualified, clearly can make the payments. We're good there. They've got a pay history of 24 months. Okay, great. Now let's talk about maybe I'm going to sell a partial off of it. Maybe I'm going to sell the whole thing. But boy, I better be prepared to fully disclose everything in the deal. All of the disclosures that I made between the seller and I, all of the disclosures and arrangements between the buyer and I, the whole bit. You better be able to lay it all out, because if you can't, ixnay, it's a bad deal. You better shepherd it across the rest of the line instead of selling.
Just when this all stuff in trust, when you do a subject to, how would you regulate that? Put that subject to situation that it's
Okay. Yeah, I love using trust and subject to. In fact, I taught a class on that last night. And so anyhow, I will always set it up where I form a trust. I, as the investor buyer, will form a trust. I will be the trustee. I'm going to then buy the property subject to as the trustee of that trust. That trust is owned by my buy and hold multiple member LLC. That then means that the LLC gives me the asset protection and gives me the financial backing for that trust. I'm not personally obligated now, but I'm staying in the deal. I have a real problem with doing deals and then stepping out of them and not being involved anymore, where there's somebody, where the sellers who sold the property, Fred and Wilma, sold me the property subject to. I want to stay in that deal for as long as I'm paying First National Bank of Bedrock.
Mhm.
Once First National Bank of Bedrock is gone, oh, well, then that's a lot easier deal for me to feel comfortable about reselling somewhere else.
Can
So
we
then
go ahead and Nathan?
Yeah, I want to buy a wrap loan, but I don't. First of all, I'm a first guy, so I want to be in first position just out of principle, if nothing else.
Yeah, well, then you got to get rid of First National Bank of Bedrock.
Right. So I could just do that, right? Like I could just buy the wrap loan, included in my price is paying off the underlying first.
Yep.
And then
You
that
can do
puts
that.
me in the first position. Everybody's, it's just a far simpler structure.
And I know a lot of people we talked to our call Wednesday was, why you to give up a great situation where the First National Bank is at 3%, 2%, 4%, and you want to pay it off. Can you talk about the legal side? I don't know if it's legal, more morality, but I'm with Nathan, like may not make financial sense to give up 3% cash, right? However, we didn't make that agreement with the subject to borrower at that time. Can you speak a little bit about that?
So and besides, it's 3% plus I'm paying my investor. So it really doesn't make sense. If it's my own money, maybe. But if I'm borrowing money to go and buy notes in the first place, then the borrowed money plus what I'm paying to the underlying Bank of Bedrock, then it doesn't make sense.
Maybe math-wise, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but otherwise it does.
Okay.
So I took down some subject to stuff about 1.5 years ago. And one of the underlying debts was a loan being serviced by Wells Fargo. Now, I'm doing well right now to say the name and not have a nervous tick, because I just despise that institution. One of the first things I did is I just found the extra cash and I got rid of them
Yeah.
because I just don't like them. I don't trust them. I believe that Wells Fargo lies every time they move their mouth. Okay, I just want nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
So was it from an arbitrage math sense? Did it make sense? No. From avoiding a hassle and headache sense, from limiting people that can yap at me and dogs that can bite me, it made a lot of sense. Okay. And so this is one of the things that I love some of you note nerds, but you only look at the math and you only look at your calculator and you don't look at the human dynamics, and you got to look at both.